Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You may be seated, giving praise and honor to Jehovah God, the King of the universe, and thanking him for blessing us with this opportunity to call upon his name, to be able to reach here on this holy day, allowing us the opportunity to know of his name, to know of his fame, to acknowledge that he is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and that besides him there is no other. We thank him for teaching us that he is our Savior, our Redeemer, the comforter of Yisrael, the one that we can call upon in our time of need, knowing that he is the one that can help in any situation. And that's all situations, in sickness and tragedy and anything that financial troubles, anything that may come our way. We acknowledge that Jehovah God is capable of doing all things, and he is the Savior and the only Savior, as we read in the book of Isaiah, where he said that he is our Savior and there is none else beside him. So we have no need for anyone else. There's no reason to call upon anyone beside the creator of the heavens and the earth, and Jehovah is his name, as we pronounce it here, acknowledging that he is the one in the beginning that spoke and brought everything into existence, that we're speaking about the God of the book of Genesis that created the heavens and the earth and did everything by himself, made everything in 6 days, and then ceased from all of his work on the seventh day, and blessed the seventh day, this day that we are here worshiping before him in this place and in the various places around the world where he is allowing people to gather before him to acknowledge the holiness of this day. So we thank him for this opportunity to worship before him, and we will continue at this time in the book of Ben Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, and that within this book we are obtaining a lot of wisdom, it's called the wisdom of Ben Sirach. That's one of the full titles that you may see in various versions or various translations of this book. So there's a lot of wisdom that is being spoken in all of these chapters that we read here. Is akin to the book of Ecclesiastes, which is actually in the Holy Scriptures or the Old Testament, and also akin to the book of Proverbs, which is also found in the Holy Scriptures amongst the writings. So wisdom is something that people should always be seeking to obtain. Wisdom, when you obtain wisdom, it helps you to navigate through a lot of things in life. We're going to read also about obtaining knowledge. Knowledge is basically the information that you gather from the various experiences that you have in your life. But being able to take all of that information or take that knowledge and apply it properly, apply it in a manner that can allow you to obtain success and prosperity, that is when you're using the wisdom. And again, wisdom is something that we should all be pursuing. You go online and you have a lot of people that are professing wisdom, but true wisdom comes from the Word of God and does not come from, for those that may know, does not come from Monquay, those that may know about that channel. But the true wisdom comes from God and comes from those that speak the Word of God. So at this time, we're going to begin in the book of Ecclesiasticus, also known as Ben Sirach, in chapter 25.
We're in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 25, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
In 3 things I was beautified, and stood up beautiful both before God and men. A man and a wife that agreed together. 3 sorts of men my soul hateth.
Actually, we read that verse again.
All right. And 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agreed together.
So those are the 3 things that this individual, and when we spoke about it from the beginning of the book, we read that this book was a compilation of this translator's grandfather. So Ben Sirach is the one that received information from his father, and then it was his son that translated it from the Hebrew to the Egyptian language, because the people of Israel were dwelling in Egypt during this time that this book was compiled. So the one that compiled the information, again, Ben Sirach, so when he's saying, in 3 things I was beautified and stood beautiful both before God and men. So this is the understanding that he had, that these are 3 beautiful things. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, and a man and wife that agree together. And these 3 things encompass people that get along. So it's a beautiful thing for people to get along. It doesn't mean that everything is going to be peaceful all the time, but these three categories of people get along and are able to overcome challenges in order to get along. So you have the unity of brethren, and this is probably speaking about actual brothers, because the next one is saying that the love of neighbors. So these are the neighbors are the ones that are not related, and then a man and a wife that agree together. So in all of these three things, it takes some work as well. It takes work for brothers to get along. It takes work for neighbors to love each other. And it takes work for a man and a wife to agree together, meaning that they're able to come together. And we're going to see these parallels come about as we continue to read. But it starts off again talking about something that is great and magnificent. So these are the things that are achievable and things that we should be striving to achieve, understanding or knowing that these are things that God considers beautiful and that good human beings consider these things to be beautiful as well. Continue.
Verse 2. 3 sorts of men my soul hateth, and I am greatly offended at their life. A poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old adulterer that doteth.
So it went from some 3 categories of people that are, or 3 categories of individuals that are beautiful. Now it's talking about 3 things that this individual hates. And this individual hates it, and chances are, based on what we know, based on scripture, that God doesn't like these or God hates these things as well. And one of the contrasts that we can see is that the thing that is beautiful are people coming together. The thing that is hateful are individuals doing individual things. So it should teach us that we should want to come together to do things in a beautiful manner before God and man, because that is what's considered honorable. But when individuals go off on their own, they come up with their own devices. So it says a poor man that is proud, a poor person that is basically a poor person that is arrogant, realizing the status that they don't have as much as they need to be established in life, but yet find the ability to look down on other people. You have people that are on Snap EBT looking down on other people. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the Snap EBT. The problem is the people that don't have but want to look down on other people. That's where the problem comes in. Usually there should be a humility based on your status in life. But even as the more exalted you are, the more humble you should be anyway. But when you're in a position where you are in need, in order to continue to receive help from those that can help you, you should have a humble character and not be rude, not be arrogant, not speak in a manner that would offend people. Because people could always turn around and say, well, look at your situation. And then when they do that and turn things around to you, then you have to look at yourself. Then it says a rich man that is a liar. Because nobody should be lying. Leviticus 19, God teaches us that, or commands us not to lie. But a rich person, they have a great financial status more than a lot of people. So there should be no reason for them to lie about anything. Because they should be comfortable with life, comfortable in their own skin, comfortable knowing that they can take care of a lot of things that other people can't. So there should be no reason why you should have a lot of money and lie. But you see that this is also the state of the world today, that the more people lie, the more position and the more finances people get. Then it says an old adulterer that doteth. Now, adultery is bad, period. But when you get to 60, 70 years old and you're still looking at other people's wives, then there's a problem. So doteth means that they're still looking around, they're lusting after, they're not established in their own lives where they have a family that they established all of those years they were alive, but they're still going out there chasing after other people's wives. So these are the things that are hateful. Continue.
Verse 3. If thou hast gathered nothing in thy youth, how canst thou find anything in thine age?
So that teaches us that as we get older, we should be increasing in knowledge. The experiences of life should be teaching us. And if you get to a certain age, and that certain age could be 20, could be 25, it could be 30, and you can look back in your life and say, and you have nothing accomplished, then basically what this is saying, then what are you living for? Because all you're going to do is continue to get older and get less and less experience, not acquire any knowledge. And as we continue to go on, you're going to see that basically your life is worthless if you're not trying to accumulate knowledge. We're not even talking about wisdom and understanding at this point. We just talk about acquiring knowledge, just knowing things, just knowing how the world works, knowing how to operate and function in the world. If at a certain point that you got to a certain age and you still don't know how to function in the world, then that shows that something is wrong with you. Continue.
Verse 4. How comely a thing is judgment for gray hairs, and for ancient men to know counsel. How comely the wisdom of old men, and understanding and counsel to men of honor. Much experience is the crown of the old man, and the fear of God is their glory.
So as people are getting older, the experiences should also cause them to accumulate not just the knowledge as they start off speaking, but also wisdom. People should be able to look up to elders and get counsel, which is one of the things that were mentioned here. People should be able to look to elders and get understanding in a situation that they are going through in their life. So that's why I started off saying, well, if you haven't accumulated any of your knowledge in your youth, then what good are you going to be as an elder to be able to pass something down for people that are going to look up to you just because of your age? Because when people look to elders, it's because they want to obtain some sort of information. They want to know, well, they don't want to get into the elders' business, but they figure an elder would have some information that they could teach them, that will counsel them, that can help them in their lives, assuming that the elder went through a lot of things in their lives and was able to circumvent a lot of situations in their lives overall and get to the point of being an elder. Because not a lot of people, even today, and even during the time of this writing, and we read it even in the books of the prophets, not a lot of people grew to be old. So having age, getting to the point where you have gray hair is a good thing. Because the Most High, that means the Most High has blessed you with life. But you don't want to be old and, for lack of a better term, dumb as well. You want to be old and have wisdom and understanding so that when people come to you, they can get proper counseling, proper understanding. And when matters happen or situations happen, people can go to elders to get judgment on situations that are happening to them. Continue.
Verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding, and that have not slipped with his tongue, and that have not served a man more unworthy than himself. Well is him that hath found prudence, and he that speaketh in the ears of them that will hear. How great is he that findeth wisdom, yet is there none above him that feareth Yahweh.
So we're going to pause there for a moment because it talks about these 9 things that are good, and then the 10th one, which is greater than them all, just to paraphrase what we just said. So a man that have joy of his children, a man that can look at his children and be proud of them for the successes that they have obtained. Look to his children and see that they're growing up in a manner that is pleasing before God and before themselves. So that is something that is to be honored. So it's incumbent upon children to be honorable so that their parents can be proud of them. So that is the first one of the 9 or 10. And it says, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. So this is somebody that's looking in from the outside. Because as individuals, we're not supposed to be desiring the downfall of anybody. But this is somebody looking from the outside and looking, again, a man that has joy of his children, and looking at someone that was able to live to see the fall of his enemy. Someone that has these troubles in his life based on this individual or individuals that may have been coming at them all their life, and now they're at a point where they can obtain some sort of comfort. So that's why they're happy. Again, this is from the outside looking in, not somebody who's looking for the downfall of their enemy, but this is somebody that is not thinking about themselves, but thinking about the joy and the happiness of somebody else, because they're happy, again, about a man that is taking pride or joyful in their children, and someone that was able to live to see the fall of their enemy. And the third one, well is him that dwell with a wife of understanding. As we read in the Proverbs, that especially it should be Proverbs 14, that the wisdom of a woman builds a house. So it's a good, and also in Proverbs, that he who finds a wife finds a good thing. We see all of these things and it mentioned earlier that a man and a wife that that agree together with a beautiful thing in their sight. So a man that takes on a wife of understanding is something that this individual is happy about. Again, this is somebody from the outside looking in, and we have to get to the point where we're happy about other people's successes. Right. Happy that we see that a parent that was able to raise up good children, right, that they're taking pride in, that went to school, got good grades, graduated with honors, do all of these things, and also beyond that, fearing God and keeping his commandments. Someone that was able to outlive their enemies or see the fall of their enemies, and one that dwells with a wife of understanding. And he that have not slipped with the tongue, which has not happened to any human being yet, since the existence of mankind. Right. Even Adam slipped with the tongue with God and said that, well, the wife you gave, or the woman you gave me. So we've been slipping with our tongues ever since. But it'd be a blessed thing to find an individual that has not slipped with their tongue and has not served a man more unworthy than himself. We work for other people. A lot of people work, you're an employee for other people. Back in the days, back in ancient times, when you're working for somebody, you might be a servant to them in their household, a servant for them in their field. Whether you're a manservant or a maidservant, you're working for somebody. But to work for somebody that is unworthy of the blessings that God has given them, meaning that you're working for somebody, you're taking care of their house, you're taking care of their affairs, but they don't realize the blessing that they have. They don't appreciate everything that God has given them. So therefore, you feel a discomfort because it's like, I'm doing all of this to make sure this individual and their house or their business is taken care of, but yet they don't appreciate the house or the business themselves. So it becomes a discomfort for the employee. Then, well is him that have found prudence. So just finding prudence or obtaining wisdom. Again, prudence is wisdom. Sometimes you'll see the word used interchangeably. Or wisdom, knowing how to correctly use knowledge. So someone that has found prudence. And he that speaks in the ears of them that will hear. Someone that when they speak to people, people pay attention. Because you have a lot of people that have knowledge, they have wisdom and understanding. When they speak to people, people turn their faces, they turn their heads and don't want to listen to them. But then you have people that, as I just said, that when they speak, it's like a commanding authority. Not that they're commanding people what to do, but people want to be in the presence of people such as this, that when they speak, they can get proper wisdom and information. Then it says, or how great is he that finds wisdom, yet there is none above him that fears Jehovah. Regardless of any success that we can achieve in life, regardless of anything that can come our way, the best thing for us to have is the fear of Jehovah. Because once you fear him, then he will bless you, and he will take care of you. He will make sure all of the things, you will have children that you can take pride in. You will live to see the fall of your enemies. You will speak and people will listen to you. You won't be working for people that are not worthy of the things that they have and the various other things that we read about here. You will obtain prudence and you will obtain wisdom. But even a 10th thing, which is greater than the fear of Jehovah, is this one. You can read the next verse.
Verse 11, it reads, but the love of Jehovah passeth all things for illumination. He that holdeth it, whereto shall he be likened?
So when you have the love of Jehovah, that means Jehovah is paying attention to you. It's one thing that to fear Jehovah God, keep his commandments, statutes, and judgments. It's another thing when God is actually paying attention to you and expressing his love to you. Because we should be fearful of Jehovah God because he can take our lives at any moment. He can cause tragedies, destructions. But it's one thing to serve Jehovah God because you fear him. It's another thing to serve him because you love him. And when you get to that point of expressing a love for the creator of the heavens and the earth, then he will express a love for you. And when, just as human beings, when human beings love each other, that's a bond that can't be broken. So when you love Jehovah God and God loves you, that's a bond that can't be broken by any human being or anything, because God will move the entire universe because he loves you. Continue.
Verse 12. The fear of Jehovah is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him.
So that is the teaching right there. It's just going backwards. So the fear of Jehovah is the beginning of obtaining his love. So express your fear of Jehovah God. Keep his commandments. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Make sure you're doing the things that you're supposed to do and refraining from the things that you're not supposed to be doing. Being circumspect about everything that you do. It doesn't mean that you have to walk on pins and needles throughout your life. But when you're dealing with God, you want to be fearful of him, and that's where the pins and needles come in, because you don't want to offend him. So when you get to the point where you fear him, again, you keep the Sabbath day holy to all extents. You make sure that you don't do any work on the Sabbath day. You prepare fully before the sun goes down. So when the sun goes down, there's nothing for you to do. Just worship the Most High God. And then throughout the week, you're circumspect about everything that you do. You're circumspect about what you eat, where you eat, how you eat. You're circumspect about leaving your house and you have your fringes on. You're circumspect about all of the commandments of God. Children are circumspect about honoring their parents. Circumspect about how you deal with people and making sure that you're not putting down people that are poor, the fathers and widows, and you're doing all of these things. In the fear of Jehovah God, he will express his love to you. Now the chapter is going to shift a little bit from this point.
Verse 13. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman.
So starting from there, because that verse alone may sound like it's offensive, but consider it in this manner. It says, give me any plague but the plague of the heart. As it was mentioned earlier, you have various types of plagues. You have the sarat, which is the leprosy. You have various types of sicknesses. As Maury Iranian also mentioned, the STIs, which is a plague that people can get. You have heart diseases. You have asthma. You have also something that was mentioned. Think about these various plagues that people get. And these are plagues that attack the person physically. But it says, give me any of those physical plagues except for the plague of the heart. When you're heartbroken, something happens that disappoints you, there's almost nothing that can cure you of that. You have asthma, you might get your albuterol. You have a heart disease, they might give you some medication for it. You might have some sort of skin disease, they give you some medication for it to take care of that. So there's medications for the various physical ailments. But when someone has an emotional ailment, aspirin can't fix that. So that's why the statement starts off by saying, give me any plague except the plague of the heart. So then it's making a comparison. Give me any wickedness except the wickedness of a woman. Not saying that women are wicked, but when a woman does wickedness, it tends to surpass the wickedness that other people do. The wickedness of a woman will burn your house down. The wickedness of a woman may break the windows of your car. So that's why it's making a comparison. It's not that, again, because people read this, they may get offended. Maybe reason why a lot of women are not here today because they read the chapter ahead of time. But it's not saying that, and we're going to see a lot more verses, but it doesn't mean that women are wicked. It's saying that the wickedness of a woman, once a woman gets to that point where she's doing wicked acts, it's going to surpass your enemy. Your enemy you might run into your enemy in the street. They might give you a pass. You run into a woman that doesn't like you, probably no pass. So that's the comparison. Continue.
Verse 14. And any affliction but the affliction from them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of enemies.
So the affliction any affliction, talk about any plague again, any sickness, except the affliction of those that hate me. When somebody hates, and talk about this is real hate. When somebody hates you, they're going to go through any extent possible to destroy you. You have, and also the revenge, but the revenge of an enemy. And we see things like this out in the world. They call 50 Cent very petty. That once you get on his bad side, he'll make a documentary about you and you probably can't recover. He'll do something to you and you probably can't. So you want to be able to get through and navigate through life, getting sicknesses and plagues that you can get medication for. But between a woman that does wickedness, between an individual that hates you or an enemy, these are the things that you cannot recover from. Because these individuals will go through any extent in their evil to make sure that they tear you down. Because to have an enemy and to have someone taking revenge on you, that means that they're doing something against God. And when people turn their back on God to turn on you, there's probably almost nothing that they won't do at all. Continue.
Verse 15. There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy.
Because the head of a serpent, that's where the venom is. That's where it's going to strike you. That's where it's going to bite you. So there's no head above the head of a serpent or a snake. Because chances are, again, when they bite you, of course, it's going to hurt. Then they have the venom, which will poison you if you get it. But you may be able to get some remedy from that. But you're not going to be able to get remedy from the wrath of someone that is an enemy to you. Because they're going to spend the rest of their lives being an enemy to you to try to take you down. And there's no balm, no medication that can solve the wrath that comes from an enemy. Continue.
Verse 16. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman.
So the dragon is just a translation. But it's saying, again, this is a wicked woman. That you would rather dwell, as it was in the proverb, you'd rather dwell in the corner or the rooftop of a house, being exposed to the elements, being in the corner of an attic, ATTIC, than to deal with a wicked woman in the house. Because you can go to a rooftop and get some peace. You're in the elements and you get some peace. You can go to another part of the house, go to the corner there, get some peace. But if you're dwelling with a woman that is wicked, you're not going to get any peace. There's no escape from that. The solution for that will come at the end of this chapter. But once a woman gets to that level and you have to dwell with a woman that is doing things that are evil to you, again, doing things, burning your house, burning your clothes, breaking your car windows, doing all these things, how do you get possibly, how do you live in peace? Because you may get some poisoned food one day. Because again, someone that turns their back on God is not going to think twice about doing something against you. So that's why you'd rather deal with fighting lions, tigers, and bears than to deal with someone in your own house, a woman that is turned against you. Continue.
Verse 17. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly.
So, an enemy, someone that doesn't like you, they may front. They may smile in your face. They might backstab you, but in your face, they might smile in your face, do certain things in front of you that it seems like it's okay. Right. But when a woman turns to wickedness, she's not going to hide that. You're going to see it in her face. That's saying her countenance is going to change against you. And it says her countenance darkens. And it's like wearing sackcloth, which is itchy, and all of the things that come with that. And then it continues to say the wickedness of woman changes her face and darkens her countenance, and her husband shall sit among his neighbors. So it's in contrast to the virtuous woman that we read about in Proverbs 31, where it says that her husband, when he dwells amongst the elders at the gate, that they will be speaking good about him because of her. But now when you have an individual that's married to a wicked woman, everybody in the city is talking about him because of her. And then he's going to feel it because he's going to hear all of the grumblings and the rumblings that people are saying. They're going to hear everything, all the bad talk that is happening because of what she's doing to him and the things that she's not just doing to him directly, but the things that she's doing to him indirectly out there in the public, out in the street, the disrespect that she may be doing when she gets to this point. And then he can't walk around the city with his head up. But the contrast is going to be, again, Proverbs 31. The contrast is also going to be when we get to the next chapter. Continue.
Verse 19. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her.
Because when a woman, again, gets to that level of wickedness, there's nothing that can stop her. But also, this is something that we can all learn from. It's not, because some people read this chapter and just think about, quote-unquote, women bashing. But it's continually saying the wickedness of a woman. That it's talking about a woman that is wicked. Right. So once a woman becomes wicked, then there's no wickedness that can surpass what she's capable of doing. That means on the other side, the righteousness of a woman, there's nobody that can surpass that. Right. That when a woman is righteous, there's no man that can surpass her righteousness. So you look at it from both ways, but we all have the ability, the opportunity to choose between doing right and doing wrong. Right. But women have an innate ability in them to have that ambition. So when they choose the thing that they want to go after, they go after it wholeheartedly. Continue.
Verse 20. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
So now we're not talking about a wicked woman at this point. It's just talking about in general. You have a person that is aged, an older person that's trying to climb up a hill or walk up a hill. And it's a sandy hill. And when you have age, you tend to get weaker. So you have a lot of struggle getting up hills. So now when you have a quiet man dwelling with a woman that is full of words, there's going to be a struggle in the house. Because the peace of mind that he wants, he's not getting. Now the word wicked, it doesn't appear in this verse. But it is talking about the struggles that people may have in their household. That you have two people of two contrasting personalities that are clashing. Again, you talk about the quiet man, and then you have the woman that is full of words, that is always talking while the man just wants to sit down, eat in peace, watch TV in peace, play some video games in peace, go to his man cave in peace, and the wife is full of words. It's like this thing in the internet. They have a man and a woman together, and they read something, and like a message comes in that says they'll pay this couple $10,000 if your wife could stop speaking for 2 minutes. And the first thing she said, "Oh wow, really?" All bets are off. She read it and started talking. Then you have the other one, where most people remember this one, where it talks about Adam and Eve in the garden. Adam and Eve, they have everything that they want. They can live forever. They have peace, all these things around them. And then Eve thinks to herself, this is not enough. Right. And then they ask, I forgot her name at this point. She was on the Joe Button. Yeah. They asked her, why you're not laughing? She said she was expecting more. Right. And they said, well, that was the point of what he was saying. Yeah. But the ambition of a woman could be good and it can be bad. Just utilize it for good. There's nothing wrong with ambition. It's how you channel it. But again, this verse is talking about two people in the house that have two different personalities. Continue.
Verse 21. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for pleasure.
So now this is speaking to men. Don't be desirous. Know how to have some discipline. Don't just chase women because they look beautiful. You end up getting things in your life that you don't need, such as the STIs. Again, a lot of parallels from what was spoken about this morning. You might get into a lot of problems because all you're doing is looking at the beauty of a woman as opposed to looking at her character. Then you end up dealing with the women out there in the world as opposed to dealing with a woman that fears God. And when you deal with a woman that fears God, as we get into the next chapter, there's going to be a lot of things that you'll be able to overcome and get through in life. But it's teaching, this verse here is teaching men how to be disciplined. A lot of times we speak about, or we read in these verses or these chapters of whether it's the wisdom here or in the Tanakh, about how women should be disciplined when it comes to sexual discipline and things like that. But men have to have a level of sexual discipline as well, and not be out there just chasing women because they're beautiful and being promiscuous, because that can lead to other problems in life. Something that, like Chief Nathy mentioned a few weeks ago. No, somebody else mentioned it a few weeks ago. No, Chief Uziel mentioned it actually a few weeks ago. And speaking about men that are addicted to lust and the science that people have, and the studies that people have done when it comes to men that are addicted to lust, men that are addicted to porn, men that are addicted to a lot of things, all of these things that come in at them in their lives. It's just about being disciplined and learning how to be disciplined. Women are going to be beautiful, but you're going to find beautiful women everywhere. It's the character of a woman that you should be desiring, and that's what you should be pursuing. Continue.
Verse 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
Because the role, and again, today a lot of people try to get away from traditional roles. But there's traditional roles of a husband and the traditional role of a wife. The traditional role of the husband is to be the provider, the caretaker of the household. Now, when you have a woman that becomes the caretaker and the provider of the household, she's going to look down on her husband. So that's where that anger is going to come in. She's going to look at him and just wonder, well, what are you doing and why am I with you? That's the things she's going to think about. She's going to look at him with impudence. There's going to be a lot of disrespect and much reproach. She's going to start to hate him. Now, these might be some of the things that turn a good wife into a wicked wife. Right. And we're going to get that in the next chapter as well, that basically what you are is going to be what is attracted to you. So if you're an individual that, talking to men, if you're an individual that has ambition, that is out there and you're a go-getter, chances are you may get a wife that is going to be a go-getter and help you with your goals. Because again, when God made man, it says that it was not good. God said it was not good that man be alone, that he will make a helpmeet for him. So there's nowhere in the course of human history that a wife is supposed to be bad. Because God said that him making the wife or bringing the woman to Adam was a good thing because it was not good for the man to be alone. A lot of ideas, a lot of ideals we learn from other cultures in terms of putting down women. But God never said that women are bad. But it's when the wickedness of a woman comes up, that's when all of these things that we read about. But now I was talking about a woman that is maintaining her husband, taking care of her husband. She's the one that's responsible for the bills, the rent, mortgage, all of these things being paid, and he's not trying to do anything. It's a difference if somebody has a job or some sort of employment, they lose it for a period of time, and then the woman steps up to fulfill that financial role. But if the woman is fulfilling the financial role of the household continually, chances are there's going to be some problems. Even in a situation where a woman may go after a man and just tell him that, I'll take care of you, or I don't need you to take care of me, I have my own money, everything like that. It puts her in a position of authority because she could use those finances as a level of authority. And when she gets upset about something, then she could throw it in your face. So you never want to be in that position where you're comfortable being taken care of by a woman other than your mother when you're younger. These are the things that you learn. Daughters learn from their fathers, sons learn from their mothers. Because the children will learn what they should be expecting in their lives based on how their parents are treating them. So these are also the ideals that are passed from generation to generation. So fathers should be teaching not just their sons, but teaching their daughters what it means to have a man in the house that provides. So that when she's going out to look for someone to marry, she's looking for someone that will provide for her as opposed to her having to think that she has to provide for herself or it's her responsibility to maintain somebody else. So these are the things that are supposed to be taught from generation to generation. Continue.
Verse 23, a wicked woman abateth the courage, maketh an heavy countenance, and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees.
So again, talk about this wicked woman abating the courage, meaning that he should be able to leave the house feeling courageous, feeling that he can take on the world. But when he's struggling so much in the house, he goes out to face the world and he's scared about things in the world because he doesn't have that woman by his side that is propping him up because all she's doing is tearing him down. We're going to see the contrast again in the next chapter. So a wicked woman abates the courage, weakens, makes a heavy countenance, and a wounded heart. So again, we spoke about earlier about that plague of the heart that cannot be cured. So this man is leaving the house, and he's not leaving the house with that encouragement of go out there and make something of yourself today. God bless you, which should be one of the main things that the wife should tell the husband when she's going out. Not something else but God bless you. Which is something, and again, because when you go out the house, it's like those that, like you watch sports, and you have boxers or, the various sports. You have the trainers, you have the coach, they do, they prep. They're not in the field. The strategies, like boxing trainers usually aren't boxers, but they know how to prep the boxer. They know how to get them ready, how to encourage them that, you can knock out everybody. So that's what the wife should be to the husband. Like when you go out there, nothing can stop you. Go out there and you can take on the world. But when she's dragging him down, then that's when he's going out there because he's worried leaving the house. So he has a lot of worries on the way. He's driving erratically. He's just doing things erratically because he doesn't have that strength, he doesn't have that courage. And then when he returns home, he might just park the car for an hour before he even goes inside. Because he's constantly worried, period, because he's not getting that encouragement on how to face the world. Continue.
Verse 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her will all die.
So this perspective. Adam was punished because he listened to Eve as opposed to listening to God. So that's why it's saying that of the woman came the beginning of sin, because she told him to eat the fruit, but it was his responsibility to turn it down. And through this, women should learn the power that they have, because Eve was able to take down the first man. A woman was able to take down the strongest man, Samson. Women were able to take down the wisest man, Solomon. So that just shows how powerful women are. So as opposed to women looking at themselves as weak, they should look at themselves as how powerful they are when they use the power in the proper perspective or the proper manner. Because if a woman could tear men down strong and wise, imagine what a good woman could do to someone that is already strong and wise. They can only make them stronger and only make them wiser. Continue.
Verse 25.
Actually, so in the explanation, and through her we all die. The perspective on this, think about, is a lot of wars, a lot of beefs, a lot of problems that happen, whether it's in the streets or out in the world, is because men are trying to flex on other men in order to impress women. So again, it's not putting the blame on the woman for dying or death happening, but it's the power of the woman that men want to impress, the power that women have that men want to impress them, that could lead them to their death, cause them to do things that they shouldn't be doing because they want to impress a woman. They go out there, they might rob somebody because they want to get the chain, they want to get the money because they want to impress a woman. So because again, this is how powerful women are. And again, it's about using that power in the proper manner. Continue.
Verse 25. Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad.
So water, or give water no passage. Those that know about water when it comes to construction, once you have a path, like water's going to always find a path to go somewhere. Once you have a leak and the water goes somewhere, it's going to find a path to go somewhere. That's how roofs break down. There's a leak somewhere, the water gets in, seeps in, the water starts to spread to other parts of the roof eventually collapses. Same thing with a foundation. You might have a crack in the foundation. If you don't take care of the crack in the foundation, a little bit of water gets in, water finds a path. So you want to stop water from finding a path before it causes destruction. The same way you don't want a woman that is wicked to go in her path and cause destruction. That's why it's making this comparison between water causing destruction and the wicked woman causing destruction. Continue.
Verse 26. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off. Slika. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh, and give her a bill of divorce, and let her go.
So we read in the book of Deuteronomy that God gives provision for divorce. We read in the prophets that he hates putting away. So this is a final act. This is when something happens that's so detrimental that the man has to give this woman a bill of divorce. But giving this type of woman a bill of divorce that we saw in the verses prior would be the solution for this man in these various situations. Because now he no longer has to deal with the stress and all of the problems that is coming from this type of wife. So now once he cuts her off from his flesh, gives her a bill of divorce and sends her out of his house, we read the book of Deuteronomy, then hopefully he's going to be heartbroken. Don't think that the man is not going to be heartbroken. You know, a lot of men try to act strong and tough and all that stuff, you know, think that they're not going to, you know, they don't want to lose a woman, and they act like they can lose a woman and it's going to be okay with them, but they're going to go through it. But it's rather to go through that for a period of time than have to deal with a lifetime of the stress and the problems that come along with, you know, keeping someone. Continue.
We're in the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 26, verse 1. Blessed is the man that have a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double.
So again, because when reading the prior chapter, women may get offended by what was read, but it's talking about one category of women. Now it's talking about a different category. So it's what you choose to be. That means, and this, of course, is for all humanity. You have the ability and the opportunity to choose whether you're going to be a virtuous or a wicked person. But these chapters are just talking about women specifically. But when we think about the Tanakh overall, it does do a lot of men bashing, because men cause a lot of problems for Israel. Between the murmuring, to God, causing the children of Israel to wander in the wilderness for 40 years, between the situation of Baal Peor, all of these things were what men cause. So men do a lot of wickedness. But now it's, these 2 chapters out of a multitude of chapters are speaking about women and hopefully encouraging women to choose to be virtuous, because it said, blessed is the man that has a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. Meaning that he's going to most likely live longer because the stress is diminished. Also, she's going to prop him up, as we're going to read in the next few verses. She's now teaching or speaking to him and teaching him how to navigate in the world and helping him to navigate in the world and to face challenges that occur in the world. He may have goals and objectives that he wants in his life. And that this woman that is virtuous is helping him along the way to obtain those goals and obtain those objectives that he may have in his mind that he wants to achieve in life. So it's about, number one, the spouses that we choose, and then what we're willing to do once we have a spouse. Continue.
Verse 2, a virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace.
So peace comes with having a virtuous woman. Peace comes with having a woman that fears God, because that's what it says in Proverbs 31, that many women have done virtuously, but a woman that fears Jehovah excels them all. Because that's what a man should want, a woman that fears Jehovah God. But you have to be deserving of obtaining a woman that fears God. Continue.
Verse 3 reads, a good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear Jehovah.
And that's the key verse right there. We read in Proverbs, he that obtains a good wife obtains a wife obtains a good thing in favor of Jehovah. So it says a good wife is a good portion which shall be given, is a good portion which shall be given in the portion of them that fear Jehovah. So this also teaches men that when we end up with wicked women, what type of character do we have? Because if the good portion is of having a good or virtuous wife is given to those that fear Jehovah God, then when you get the opposite type of woman, then you have to also look at yourself. You don't want to stick with someone that is unrighteous and wicked, so that's why you have the opportunity to give a bill of divorce. But it's also an opportunity to look within yourself. Think about, did you marry her because of her beauty? Or did you marry her because she feared God? And were you finding someone that feared God because you also feared God? So you have 2 people in the household fearing God. And once you have people that fear God, as we read earlier, they can both obtain the love of God, which can't be broken and can't be moving. Because once God loves you, the universe is going to be in your favor. So this is the things that we should be pursuing as men and women. But again, just think about what also somewhere in, let's see if we can find it real quick. There's one in Ecclesiastes chapter 7.
You want to read it?
Yeah, I have to find it first. But it's actually a repetition of what was just said, that God punishes, paraphrasing, God punishes evil men by giving them an evil woman. It's somewhere in Ecclesiastes, and it's also Proverbs 22 most likely. If we don't find it now, it'll be for in the future. But it basically says the same thing. But we'll get those verses later on. But it's basically just the purpose of reading them. But it's one in Proverbs. Proverbs 22, verse 14 says, "The mouth of strange women is a deep pit. He that is abhorred by Jehovah shall fall therein." So again, Jehovah God has given strange women, or the mouth of a strange woman, causing to fall into a deep pit, to those men that are abhorred by Jehovah God. And then also in Ecclesiasticus, I believe it's chapter 7, which reiterates the same thing. So again, God gives to everybody according to the works of their hands. So what we do is what we're going to receive. So we do good, God will bless us with good. And that goes for everybody. We do evil, God will reward us with evil. And that comes through people. Continue.
Verse 4. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward Jehovah, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance.
So it's not about being rich or poor. It's not about your financial status, but it's having a good heart towards Jehovah God, following his commandments, statutes, and judgments. And whether you're rich or poor, once you find favor in the sight of Jehovah God, you will obtain peace. Okay, he will bless you in your situation. You may not be rich, but you'll be comfortable. You may be rich, but you'll dwell in security, because a lot of rich people that are worried about things, because the more money they have, the more that they have to protect, the more that they have to watch the people around them. But when you have the love of Jehovah God from you to him and from him to you, regardless of your financial status, you're going to be blessed and protected. And it also teaches us, again, that it's not about somebody's financial status, but it's about their character and what they do and how they do it. Continue.
Verse 5. There be three things that my heart feareth, and for the fourth I was sore afraid.
So these three things, and then it mentions the four. Three things that his heart fears, and then the fourth one that he was definitely afraid of.
The slander of a city.
That's one. So you were in a city and people are slandering you. Or you're in a city and people are slandering overall. This is something that people fear that. They don't want to be lied on. They don't want to be talked about. You don't want to be in a city. You want to be in a community. You don't want to be in a congregation where people are slandering you. Right. That's something people fear. Continue.
The gathering together of an unruly multitude.
So people are coming against you. They get together. So it starts, it's one thing if they're talking about you, slandering. Now they're gathering against you. Continue.
And a false accusation. All these are worse than death.
So people will rather die than have to deal with people slandering them, lying on them, coming against them, falsely accusing them of things. Because these things are, as it's mentioned to this individual, are worse than death. Because death is the final thing. And we know it's the end of life. But when you have death, that's it. But when you have people talking about you, slandering you, these things tend to never end. But then this fourth thing.
Verse 6. But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicateth withal.
So regardless of a woman in a polygynous situation or not, when she becomes jealous of another woman, there's going to be a lot of problems. So it goes even beyond just being slandered and lied upon and being falsely accused. Now you have to deal with, in your own household, the problems that this jealousy is going to cause. We read about the jealousy of a man, of course, in the law, because a man that is married to somebody, she's supposed to be his and his only. But women also get jealous, but their reaction to jealousy is going to be different than the reaction that a man has to jealousy. Again, the woman's reaction to jealousy would cause a lot of damage to physical properties, and sometimes physical. Because again, that's that revenge and this jealousy that comes about. So that's the fourth one that this person just cannot deal with at all. The first three things they just feared, but now this fourth thing they can't deal with at all. And then it says the scourge of the tongue. So this is somebody or an individual that's going outside of the house and just talking all the business. And is speaking to everybody, letting everybody know what's going on. This is not something that you want in your household, where all of the business in the household is going out there in the street because she's jealous of another woman. Because now you become embarrassed in the sight of everybody, and it goes to some of the things to be read in the previous chapter. Continue.
Verse 7. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that have hold of her is as though he held a scorpion.
So a yoke on an animal keeps the animal in line and causes the animal to only go in the direction that the person that is driving the animal, the director of the animal is only going in the direction of what the individual that put the yoke on it wants. So a man that has a wicked wife or wicked woman is going to be the same thing. He's going to be held down with this yoke. And instead of him being the head of the household, he's going to be directed and led in the direction that she wants him to go in, as opposed to him being, again, the head of the household and being the one responsible for everything in the household. Continue.
Verse 8, a drunken woman and a gather abroad causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame.
And add the next one.
The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids.
So it starts talking about, in that verse we read prior, a drunken woman and a gather abroad, a woman that is out there in the streets doing what she wants to do, that is going to be a shame to her husband.
She won't even cover her shame.
Because she's doing things, she won't cover her shame, she's just doing things and causing him to feel shame. So when he's going out there in the streets, he's out there in the city, at work, the various things, people are talking about him because of what she's doing. So again, it's giving you these contrasts between the wicked woman and the virtuous woman. And it's talking about the drunken woman, because a drunken person, period, they don't hold their alcohol. A lot of things may come out of their mouths, and they may do a lot of things that, of course, they wouldn't do when they're sober. So now when you have a wife that's out there drunken, she may say a lot of things that you don't want people to hear, and may do a lot of things that you don't want people to see. And it becomes a shame on the husband and not just on the wife or the woman that is drunken. And again, talking about someone that's a gather abroad, someone that's just out there, and it's mentioned in Proverbs 7, the woman whose house her feet does not abide in her house. Because all she does is she's outside. And being outside can cause a lot of problems. It caused a lot of problems for men, definitely. So imagine what's going to happen to a woman. She's married and she's out there in the street. She's outside, and leaving herself open to be, because she could be potentially defenseless out there in the world without her husband to protect her. And a lot of things come away, and then the husband hears about it later. And then again, this talk continues to happen. She's doing these things. Then they talk about the whoredom of a woman. It would be known in her haughty looks. Basically, she's flirtatious. She's looking at people in flirtatious ways. She's winking her eyes, doing the things that we read about in the book of Proverbs. And these are the things that, again, men should have discipline against, especially when it comes to a woman that is married to somebody else. But just in general, men should have discipline. Just because somebody's flirting with you, just relax, take your time. Because again, the goal is to obtain somebody that fears Jehovah God. Continue. Now this is talking about fathers.
Verse 10, if thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he hath found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every edge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow.
So parents know their children. But now specifically, a father would know the type of daughter that he has. And when he sees that he has a daughter that is flirtatious, it's best for him to before she hold her down in the house and guide her to marriage, as opposed to giving her liberty. Because once this flirtatious woman, or this flirtatious daughter specifically, the shameless daughter, gets a level of liberty, now she's outside. And when she's outside, there's a lot of things that happen, and a lot of plan Bs, or what you call it, the after whatever pills, a lot of that happening, a lot of disgrace, because again, this shame is going to come upon the household. Doing things out there, dressing in a certain way that is shameful to the household. So it's best for the father to direct that energy and keep that energy in the house till hopefully, of course, with prayer to God, and then through proper counsel, things to be directed as opposed to giving her liberty, and then she goes out there, because it says that she will, in the last verse that was read, she will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he have found a fountain. A person that is traveling from one place to another, especially back in the days where they're traveling on an animal or walking, they haven't drank water in a while. When they find a fountain, they're out there, they jumping in the pool. So the same thing with a daughter that is shameless, jumping at everything that comes her way. Doesn't know how to differentiate between the catcalls and something that is sincere. It says at the end of this, it said that she will open her quiver to every arrow. And a quiver is basically a pouch where arrows, people that are archers, they carry their arrows in a... Yeah, and so she'll have many arrows. Way to put it. Right. And she'll have many arrows in her quiver. There's actually a translation that actually was more vulgar. It's not this one.
Yeah, I know which one.
Yeah, this is the one, but it basically said that she'll have her legs open. It literally says, use the word legs. But that's what it's talking about. And as Chief Uziel mentioned, that there's many arrows in the quiver. So if a man sees his daughter that she's potentially like that, he don't want her to be out in the street and have many arrows in her. Continue.
Verse 13. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones.
So it's giving these contrasts once again. So the grace of a wife delights her husband. So a wife that is graceful, a wife that is not talkative, a wife that is not distracting to him, a wife that just knows how to communicate, a wife that doesn't have the attitude, the wife that doesn't have the PMS even when it's not PMS time, the wife that is, just knows how to talk to her husband. Again, as I said earlier, she can build him up and to where he wants to come home. That instead of stopping at a bar, stopping at the friend's house, and stopping all these places, when he finishes work, he'll want to come home because he knows he's coming home to peace. So when he has this peaceful woman or this graceful woman, then he's going to feel good. He's going to be happy. And it adds this one in the next verse.
Verse 14. A silent and loving woman is a gift of Yahweh.
So now, if you happen to be a woman that speaks a lot, just consider that, because a silent and loving woman is a gift of Yahweh. So, if you want to be a gift of Yahweh to somebody, learn to be silent. A silent and loving woman is a gift of Yahweh. That's what it. A silent and loving woman is a gift of Yahweh.
You gotta put that in more context, don't you?
It's simple. Like you give. Silent doesn't mean quiet all the time.
Well, that's what you gotta explain.
Oh no, silent means silent means when to be silent. Right. Saying you're welcome at the time they're supposed to. Right. Stuff like that. Silent.
That mean like she don't open her mouth. You gotta put it in context.
That's just from the same person that was like, speak like 2 minutes ago. Now you get a different now because somebody might be listening. He wanna change the narrative. So we stopped in the middle of the verse, but a silent and loving woman is a gift of Yahweh.
And there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed.
And so a well-instructed individual, especially a well-instructed woman, can teach her husband a lot of things. Because the woman was made for the man to be a helpmeet. Right. And again, a helper is someone that can help you or help you meet your obligations, which is one of the other things that is said. And also a helper is not necessarily a weaker person, because God is our helper and God is our comforter. It mentioned earlier about a woman that doesn't comfort her husband cause a lot of trouble for him when he goes out in the street. So women are there, or a wife is there to be a good comfort to the husband. So be silent and be loving and be well instructed. And then you will be a gift from Jehovah God to your husband. Continue.
Verse 15. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued.
So the shamefaced meaning that she's shameful of doing certain things. Not saying that she's walking around being shameful, but shamefaced means that she's conscious of what she does, and she doesn't want to do shameful acts out there. So when you have someone that is shamefaced and faithful, that's a double blessing, as it says here. You got a double portion from Jehovah God, because this is someone that doesn't want to disgrace herself first, and doesn't want to disgrace you. So that's how you get this double portion from Jehovah God. And it says, and her continent mind cannot be valued, meaning that there's no amount of money that you can spend on a woman that is faithful. Because a lot of this, especially today, a lot of men may not care about this, but in general, having a woman that is faithful is priceless. That's right. The world doesn't teach us that. Absolutely. Because you have bad, for lack of a better term, bad idols out there, in terms of the people that are in entertainment that do certain things, women especially that do certain things. They're pregnant, already sleeping with another man, and still being married. Some of y'all know we're speaking about at this moment. But these are the people that are uplifted. And the problem is in society overall is that a lot of attention is given to people that do wrong. And when you have attention given to something, people tend to focus on that attention and be like, well, if that person getting attention, then that's the direction I should go. So now within our communities, Torah observers, attention should be given to people that fear God, as opposed to attention given to people that don't fear God. Because once you do that, then other people want to fear God and want to do the right thing. But when it seems like all the attention is going to people that don't do the right thing, that's the direction people are going to go. Continue.
Verse 16. As the sun when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house.
So the sun rises, a lot of brightness. You open the windows, you get that sunshine coming in. Things look bright. Things look, you're feeling good for the day. The sun gives you that warmth. The sun can give you that energy. So is a good wife in the morning as well, which also teaches women to rise up early as well as the sun. Continue.
Verse 17. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age.
So it's talking about the candlestick within the house of God, that not everybody gets to see. But as that menorah lights, gives that clear light within the holy house of God, so is the beauty of the face, as it says, in ripe age. So now it's talking about elders again, as it spoke about in the beginning of chapter 25, that as people get older, they should have more wisdom and give more counsel and give better judgment. So now the beauty of someone that is of a ripe age is just the same as the beauty of that menorah or that candlestick which is lit inside the house of God. Continue.
Verse 18. As the golden pillars are upon the sockets of silver, so are the fair feet with a constant heart.
So it's talking about, again, that tent of meeting that was in the wilderness, how it was built and how it was constructed, the golden pillars and the sockets of silver that were on it that constructed that place that God said that he want built because he desired to dwell among the children of Israel. So as that place was a location where God can rest or dwell amongst the children of Israel, so are the fair feet so is someone that is consistent. A constant heart is someone that is consistent. They're not wavering. What you see is what you get. What they say is what they're going to do. They're not going to change from one thing to another thing. So again, someone with that consistency is the same as that tent of meeting that brings the presence of God. So we started talking about people in general. So we as men and women should learn to be consistent, because that's how we can get the presence of God in our lives, by being consistent, by being truthful, by being upright, by not wavering and doing things, double-hearted or double-minded, doing things behind people's backs, being straightforward with people, being consistent. That's what it means to have a constant heart. Continue.
Verse 19. My son, keep the flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the field, sow it with thy own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. so thy race which thou leavest shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent.
So it's speaking about something that we read about in Proverbs chapter 6 of not dealing with strange women. Because you don't want to get all of this possession in the field and have to give it to somebody else, whether it's through the actual divorce or whether it's through that individual tearing down what you work so hard to build up. So now when you have you have a house, you have your job, you have your stability financially, socially, and mentally, physically, you have the stability, you want to have somebody that is going to help to build that and make that stronger, as opposed to getting with somebody that's going to tear that entire thing down. So that's what it says, keep the flower of thine age sound. So as you grow older, you want to grow older with somebody that's going to continue to build you up. Again, this is about, to men, getting with women that are going to build you up as opposed to getting with someone that's going to tear you down. And speaking to women, saying that be the type of woman that's going to build a man up as opposed to being a woman that's going to tear a man down. Continue.
Verse 22, and harlot shall be accounted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband.
So spittle is, back in the days when people, just instead of spitting on the ground, there was this jar, a spittoon. It was basically a jar where people, you might see in some older movies too, they walk into a bar, walk to a place, so they spit in the ground, they spit in this jar, which is called a spittle or a spittoon. And whatever it is, so yeah, the saliva, the tobacco, whatever it is, goes in that spittle. So it's comparing a harlot to an object that a lot of people spit in, put their saliva and all of their physical bodily fluids and all in there at the same time. So women have to consider, and this is, again, when some women hear these things, they think of these things as tearing them down, but these are actually building them up. Because it's actually character building verses. Because what you project is what you're going to receive, the same way that what a man projects is what he's going to receive. So this is how both men and women learn to be better citizens in the sight of Jehovah God. So this also teaches us to get away from the gender clashes, the gender battles, and just build each other up and help each other to get, the love of Jehovah God by teaching the fear of Jehovah God to one another. And again, we should attempt to get away from all of these things that divide us, because it started off in the beginning of the other chapter, a man and a woman that agree. God likes to see people in agreement, brothers, neighbors, everybody in agreement. Continue.
Verse 23, a wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth Jehovah.
It repeated what was said earlier. So all those verses that we read about what a wicked woman does is because, as it says here, she was given as a portion to a wicked man. So not only can a woman be wicked, but a man obviously can be wicked. And when a man is wicked, that's what Jehovah God rewards him too. So we read all of those verses and read all of these things that sound detrimental to women, but in the end, it's the detriment of a man. Because of what he's done and how he lives his life caused all of that drama and that stress to happen to him. We read in Proverbs that Jehovah has made the evil man for the day of evil. So the same way he made the evil woman for the day of evil for a wicked man. Continue.
Verse 24, a dishonest woman contendeth shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband. So
also continue, a godly woman is given to him that fears Jehovah. So if you want to obtain a godly woman, you have to fear Jehovah God. And it says a dishonest man contemns shame, but an honest woman will revere her husband. An honest woman, the one that is truthful and also consistent in her attitude and her persona, not just in front of her husband when her husband's not around. That's someone that a husband can be proud to have and just thank Jehovah God that he has such a woman as that. Continue.
Verse 25, a shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear Jehovah.
So just working at the verse backwards. The shamefaced individual is the one that doesn't want to be shamed, that is mindful of how people view them. So the woman that is mindful of how people view her, God will bless her. It shows that she fears Jehovah God. But a shameless woman, a woman that, as is mentioned earlier, gads about out there in the street, flirtatious, doing all the things, shall be counted as a dog. And you see dogs out there in the street, or these feral creatures out there in the street. So a woman that is shameful is like a feral animal. Continue.
Verse 26. A woman that honoreth her husband shall be judged wise of all. But she that dishonoreth him and her pride shall be counted ungodly of all.
So again, these are teaching moments of what a woman should be like. So a woman that honors her husband should be counted as a wise woman. People will look up to her. So when she's getting older, you'll have younger women looking up to her because she's showing and exemplifying how a woman should be for herself, not bringing shame for herself, how she should fear God, and then how she should honor her husband. Continue.
Verse 27. A loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies.
So again, as opposed to the silent and loving woman that we read earlier, the loud crying woman, the one that is talking a lot out there in the street and in the house, and when in the house, everybody outside the house can hear her talking, that's a shame for not only for herself, but also for her husband and everybody in the household. And it will drive people away. Even somebody's enemies wouldn't want to deal with something like that. And somebody that has enemies, the enemies might feel bad for that individual that has that loud crying woman. Continue.
Verse 28. There be two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry. A man of war that suffereth poverty. So
a man of war, you have soldiers that go out to war, fight for countries, fight for their nation, come back and get no VA, assistance. And they have to be in the street begging, holding up signs, saying, I'm an Army veteran, I'm a Marine veteran, can you help me? That's something that makes somebody angry because the country should be taking care of those that fought to protect the rights of the country. Next one.
And men of understanding that are not set by.
Meaning that set by, some of the other translations explain it better. But a man of understanding that people don't pay attention to. Not because of the character of that individual, but just that you have a generation of people that don't care about obtaining understanding and not willing to go to people of understanding to get information on how they should live and how they should get counsel and things in their life. So that's something that angers this individual. You have somebody with all of these skills, all of this information, this wealth of knowledge, all of this understanding, but yet nobody wants to pay attention to them. That makes that person feel bad, but somebody on the outside looking in be like, this is not right. How is it that you have somebody that has all the abilities and skills, but you're not utilizing them? That's what causes people to be angry. And you see that even today amongst households and the congregation, there's so much talent and so much things around, but people aren't utilizing people's skills and talents to the best of their ability. Right. And it just becomes wasted. So you have people that as opposed to what we read in chapter 25, instead of living life, not obtaining knowledge, you have people that work to obtain knowledge, but instead you have people that work hard to obtain the knowledge, but people don't respect them. Continue.
And one that returneth from righteousness to sin, Yahweh prepares such an one for the sword. As
we read in the book of Ezekiel, you can be righteous most of your life, but once you turn to do evil, the wrath of Jehovah God is going to come upon you. So that's just something that is hateful and something that causes this anger that somebody was doing so much righteousness, but then decided to turn away from God. And then as a result of that, God puts that person to death by the sword or some sort of danger that happens in their life because they turned away, even if it might have been for a moment. Again, your righteousness has to be perpetual. You can't just live righteously and think that you have a lot of righteousness in the bank, that you could go in this heavenly ATM and pull out this righteous money in the sight of God. God is going to judge you based on your actions and what you're doing right now. Continue.
Verse 29. A merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and an huckster shall not be freed from sin.
So it's difficult for a merchant, someone that sells goods, to be honest. So that's why I said a merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, because a lot of merchants want to try to get over, and a huckster is someone that's basically a hustler. A merchant has some sort of established business, so it's hard for them to do wrong with their established business. But then you have a hustler that's always, hustling, trying to get over on people. Always have something to sell, always have a bridge to sell or something to sell, and trying to get over on people. And they shall not be freed from sin. So we thank Jehovah God for the opportunity to read these words of wisdom this day, praying that we would attain knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and learn from one another, praying that this would teach us to obtain good and strong households. So again, it's all about, as the chapter 25 started, it's about us dwelling in unity, getting together, as opposed to living in a manner that tears each other down. So these are not the opportunities that we should take to have these the gender warfare that we have. These are the opportunities that we should have in order to build one another up. So whether it's the gender warfare, just as in closing, whether it's the gender warfare or the cultural warfare that we have, because there's a lot of divisions that we have that we don't need to have. And when we focus on the divisions, we focus on, like, again, whether it's men versus women, whether it's FBA versus Caribbean, whether it's any of these things. That's right. When we focus on that, we don't get to learn what the other side did to get through their struggles. Like having conversations about whose slavery was worse doesn't help us to be built up, because both sides struggled through slavery and learned how to get through it and survive. So as opposed to saying that your side is worse than somebody else, learn how somebody else got through their slavery that can help to build you up as well. That's what was happening in the past. We read about the Haitian Revolution, but the Haitian Revolution, we know about Toussaint and Dessalines, but there was someone named Bookman that came from Jamaica. And the Haitians didn't say, well, you're from Jamaica, I'm not going to learn from you, because the Jamaicans fought against their oppressors as well. So Bookman came from Jamaica and got in touch with Toussaint and then Dessalines and helped them, and that's how you had the Haitian Revolution later on. So they didn't say, well, our cultures are different, I can't learn from you. And they didn't say, well, yours was worse than ours, but they said that we can learn from how you were able to get through your struggles. And also dealing with the gender aspect of it, even leading up to that. There's an individual in history known as Nanny Maroon, who fought a lot against the oppressors in Jamaica. So this is the precursor also, because when she was doing it, she's on the Jamaican $500 bill, and she's one of Jamaica's national heroes. So again, women have a lot of power when it's used properly. And people respected Nanny Maroon at that time. So what she was able to do to help fight off the oppressors in Jamaica led to a few years later to Bookman being able to leave Jamaica and go to Haiti and help the Haitians. So let's learn from one another as opposed to tearing each other down. Hallelujah.